Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the best star power for every single brawler in the game. The last time we did this video was actually a couple months ago, and the meta has changed a lot. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes between what star powers you should be using now for every brawler compared to a couple months ago. So you're going to want to make sure to watch the whole video so you know exactly what star power to use for every single brawler. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So we're going to be starting this video off with the trophy road brawlers, and then moving up in rarity towards the legendary and then the chromatic brawlers at the end of the video. So starting off with Shelly, then you should be using the Shell Shock star power in all 3v3 modes, and then you should be using the Band-Aid star power in Showdown. So for Nita, then I recommend using Hyper Bear absolutely everywhere with Nita because it's the better star power by far. Like, bear with me, the other star power doesn't even come close to Hyper Bear. Hyper Bear is so much better, so make sure you are using that star power. Okay, so moving into Colt then. So for Colt, you should be using Magnum Special, which basically increases your bullet speed and kind of the range by 11%, which is really helpful. If you're very skilled with Colt and you feel that you can hit a lot of shots, then the speed can also be used as well. But for most people, Magnum Special is going to be the better star power. So for Bull, Tough Guy is going to be the better star power pretty much everywhere, although you can still use Berserker in Heist. So for Jesse, if you're a noob like Pat, then you can use Shocky, but if you want to use the best star power, then use it Energize, because it's going to allow you to hold your turret up and keep your turret alive for longer. So moving into Brock then, overall for Brock, the Incendiary star power is going to be better overall, especially in Siege and Heist. You're going to want to make sure you use Incendiary, but in like Brawl Ball, Bounty, and Gem Grab, you can definitely use 4th Rocket as well for Brock because it's still a pretty decent star power. So for Dynamite then, unless your name is Lukey Bear, you should be using Demolition because it is going to be the better star power. Most people can't use the jumps effectively, and to be honest, the jumps really aren't that useful. Demolition is by far the best star power. So for Bo then, the stun mines are going to be better on most maps, basically allowing you to stun people when they hit the mines, which is really good because it means you can kill them usually. But on like really grassy maps like Snake Prairie, you're definitely going to want to use Circling Eagle for that vision in the grass because it's going to be really helpful. So for Tick then, I recommend using Well Oiled. It's basically going to allow you to heal up much quicker, so that like basically whenever you take any damage, you're going to heal up within a couple of seconds, which is really helpful. So moving on to 8-bit then. So for 8-bit in Showdown, I recommend using Extra Life because it pretty much gives you a second life in Showdown. And obviously Showdown, you only get 1 life, so it's really good in Showdown. But in 3v3 modes, I recommend using the extra range on the turret because it can definitely help give your turret a lot more value and basically help your teammates out a little bit. So moving on to Ems then. So for Ems, Hype obviously got nerfed quite a bit, but I still feel like the healing is better than the extra damage from the Bad Karma star power, so I would recommend using Hype still for Ems. Okay, so moving into Primo then. So for Primo, I recommend using El Fuego, and I hope I said that right because I get roasted every single time I say that star power because I have no idea how to say it. So you should be using that star power definitely in Heist and also in Siege. But if you want to use the Meteor Rush star power in Brawl Ball, then you can use it there as well. You can kind of change it a little bit between, but overall El Fuego is going to be the best star power. So for Barley then, you should be using Medical Use, giving you that extra healing every time you shoot. It's really helpful. But you can also use Extra Nauseous if you feel like you are facing a lot of tanks, because that extra damage is going to help you melt those tanks. Okay, so for Poco, Screeching Solos is of course the best star power. No, it's not. Despite what all randoms think, Screeching Solos is awful. It's one of the worst star powers in the game. Decapo is much better, and you can heal your teammates up so much, so definitely make sure to use Decapo. For Rosa then, with maps that already have a lot of grass, you can use the Plant Life star power. Overall it's going to be better, but on maps where there's not really much grass, like some Siege maps, you can definitely use Thorny Gloves for that extra damage. So for Rico then, I used to think the Robo Retreat was better, but now overall I feel like Super Bounce is actually going to be the better star power overall, so yeah, I definitely recommend using that. For Daryl then, I recommend using Still Hoops in every single mode apart from Heist, where you should be using Rolling Reload for the extra damage. It's really going to help you melt the safe. So for Penny then, I recommend using Balls of Fire most of the time. There's some situations in Siege and also Heist where you can use Last Blast. For example, if you're putting your turret close to the Ike and the safe where you can get that Last Blast damage off, then you can definitely use Last Blast, but mainly Balls of Fire is going to be the best star power. This one is very easy. Hardy Hard Hat is going to be the best star power, allowing you to tank so many shots. So yeah, definitely make sure to use this star power. Okay, so moving into Carl then. So for Carl, I like to use the power throw star power, but I know a lot of people that like to use the protective pirouette, and this one's just about really personal preference. If you like being more aggro with your supers, then I definitely recommend using the protective pirouette. But if you like the power throw, you can definitely use that as well. I personally like to use that star power because I think that star power is a little bit better. So for Piper then, I recommend using snappy sniping on maps which are very open with not very much grass, because yeah, you're not going to get much value out of ambush. But on maps with like a ton of grass or just lots of grass, where the Piper's going to be, say if Piper's playing mid on gem grab and there's a lot of grass in the mid, make sure to use ambush, because yeah, you're going to be able to get a lot of value out of that star power. So for Pam then, both star powers are very, very good and very usable, but I would recommend using Mama's Hug on maps which are very open and you can get a lot of value. And then the maps with like lots of walls and a little bit more close, you should be using Mama's Squeeze, because you can get your turret behind those walls and it's going to be able to get value, because people are not going to be able to destroy them very easily. And yeah, you can get that 500 damage off, which is going to do a decent amount of damage over time. So for Frank then, this one is actually very easy. Sponge is the best star power in every single situation, so don't even think about using power grab. So for BB, batting stance is actually a decent star power, so both star powers are decent, but overall I think that the home run star power is much better, because yeah, that speed's just very good for catching up to people and dodging shots in general. So for B, I recommend using Insta B load in the 3v3 modes, and of course in Showdown use Honeycoat, because it's going to keep you alive, and yeah, that's so important in Showdown. So for Nanny then, I recommend using auto focus, because it's going to allow you to do a ton of damage with your super, and yeah, that's really, really important with Nanny. So for Mortis then, I recommend using Cold Snake. It's going to be the best star power absolutely everywhere. No questions on this one. Like, it's just so much better than the other star power, so definitely use Cold Snake. So for Tara then, you either have the damaging pet or the healing pet. So on like the more grassy maps, I actually recommend using the attack pet, because once it's down, it's actually going to scan the grass for you and like run after the enemies, basically showing your team where they are. So I recommend using the attack pet on grassy maps. Then on more open maps, I definitely recommend using the healing pet. Okay, so for Jean, I recommend using magic puffs in all the 3v3 modes, because you can get so much value with that heal. But in Showdown, you should obviously be using Spirit Slap, because yeah, you're not going to be able to get much value with magic puffs. So for Max then, I recommend using run and gun absolutely everywhere. Like with the star power, and when you're moving around, you have such a high reload speed, you can melt enemies so quickly, and yeah, you pretty much have infinite ammo because you just reload so quickly with Max. Okay, so for Mr. P is actually a really, really interesting one, because it recently, one of the star powers recently got a rework. So it's called Revolving Door, the second star power now, and basically it allows you to, your paws will spawn so quickly. They'll spawn like every 2 seconds, I believe it is. So you're going to want to use this star power on maps where there's a lot of walls, and then use Handle with Care on the more open maps, because Mr. P definitely needs this extra range. So for Sprout, this one's definitely been changed since the nerf, so I recommend using photosynthesis on maps with even like a little bit of grass or a decent amount of grass, and you should be using overgrowth on maps where there's hardly any grass really, because overall photosynthesis is going to be the better star power by far. So for Spike then, I recommend using Curveball on like the more grassy maps where you can get the more value from scanning the grass with Curveball. But apart from this, it's kind of personal preference whether you use Fertilize or Curveball. I like to use Fertilize, especially when there's more tanks, because I feel like you can get a lot of value with the heal. But yeah, it's kind of up to you guys what you use. So for Crow, I actually recommend using Extra Toxic in 3v3 modes, but carry on Crow in the solo modes, and yes, in Showdown in general, because I think it's better here, but they're both very good star powers, and yeah, you can use them where you want. So for Leon, Invisi-Heal is going to be the better star power absolutely everywhere. Like, this is such a good star power, allowing you to heal up so quickly, so I would definitely recommend using Invisi-Heal. So for Sandy then, Rune Sands is going to be the better star power by far. So for Gale then, I recommend using the Blustery Blow star power, because the ability to like push someone into a wall and then stun them is actually one of the most broken things about Gale, and is one of the reasons why Gale is one of the best brawlers in the game right now, because that super is so strong with the star power. So definitely make sure to use Blustery Blow. So moving into the final brawler of the video then, it's going to be Surge, and Surge only has one star power right now. It's called To The Max, and actually basically splits your shot at the end. And yeah, when you get this max level, this becomes so important, because it just makes him so broken. So even when he gets another star power, I think this is going to be the best star power for Surge. I can't really see this star power being like the worst star power. It's so strong, and yeah, makes Surge one of the best brawlers in the game right now. So even if a new star power comes out, I guarantee you this is going to be the best star power. Okay guys, that's going to be it for the video. video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video and let me know down below if I said Primo Star Power El Fuego right, because yeah, I definitely struggle with saying that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.